So, where are we? If this is London, we're all the way in this area, northeast of England. Where I am. So we're going to page 104 and 105. Right, this is part of the northeast. You've got Stockton there. That's not sure if it's a city or a town, but anyway, it's a big one. Middlesbrough there, even bigger. Probably the most famous one is this one here, Durham City. Very, very nice, a gem of a city up north. It is actually a city because it has a university and a cathedral, which is what's required in England to be called a city, not the size. Size doesn't matter. Got Darlington here, but we're gonna be mostly here in this green area. This, in my opinion, is where all the beauty is. There's some stuff there on the coast, but we will be here. I will be going to this place called here. Now, can you guess how to read it? You probably will guess it wrong if you're not from the UK. This is not Stanhope, this is Stanhope. Then I will be driving down this absolutely beautiful road. It's one of the most beautiful roads to drive in the Pennines, in my opinion. I might discover another one, but this is B6278. Then I will go here. I'll go to Staindrop, another little town that was absolutely not on my radar, but we'll see how nice it is. And then we will go to the biggest one, and probably the most famous out of the three, is Barnard Castle. And yes, it does have a castle. Actually, this one has a castle too. And that one has a castle. Well, they all have castles. Here, this green area, this is called the North Pennines. It's an area of natural beauty, or is a national park, something like that. Here you've got the other one, just on the south, is the Yorkshire Dales. Absolutely beautiful areas of natural beauty. They're not as popular as, say, Lake District or Snowdonia in Wales, or of course the Scottish ones. But still, they are there. People do hike there, and let's see how beautiful it is. So, let's go. Some landscapes feel welcoming. Others feel wild, untamed. The Pennines are the second kind. Less famous than the Lake District or the Yorkshire Dales, but just as breathtaking. Maybe even more so, because here, you feel like you have it all to yourself. One thing I love about County Durham is how you're never too far away from nature. Look how rugged this landscape looks, it's just so beautiful. Now, if you really want to explore it, I suggest that you get a bicycle and you can drive up this road, up and down. It's just non-stop eye candy. It's just... These hills aren't just for scenery. They've been worked for centuries. This land has been shaped by industry with quarries that once kept entire towns alive. And yet, even with all that history, it still feels untouched. It's the kind of place that makes you want to keep driving, keep exploring. But today, I'm stopping in the next town. Stanhope feels like the kind of place that makes you forget about your bills, work, stress, at least for a little bit. But if you've ever tried to escape your problems, you know, they have a way of following you. But maybe the best way to clear your mind isn't to run, but to shift your perspective. These stones have been here for centuries, and they're still here, still being used, while everything around them changes. And that's the thing about places like this. They remind you, you're just passing through. Your problems, your worries, they feel massive in the moment. But in the grand scheme of things, they're just another step along the way. And speaking of things that have stood the test of time, let's see something even older. Well, apparently, I'm touching something which is 320 million years old. This tree right here was actually found in pieces at the bottom of the river, I believe, in 1915. It's weird. You come to a place like this to escape, to feel small in a good way. But instead, you start thinking about time and how fast life moves, and how, no matter how much you try to pause, things keep changing. But not everything from the past stays frozen. Some things carry on. 12th century church, still open, still standing. How many people have walked through here? How many of them were looking for the same thing? Peace, escape, clarity? This place has seen centuries of worries, and yet, here it is, still here. Just like that tree, just like the stepping stones. But Stanhope isn't just a place frozen in time. People still live here, work here, build their lives here. Well, looks like Stanhope is not just a little quaint old town. I'm just on the way to find the old railway, which has got a steam train on it running still sometimes, but came across this little industrial area. I've got this company called Cook Defense Systems, not sure what they do. But yeah, interesting. So there's some jobs going on around here. That's nice to know. Stanhope isn't just a quiet getaway. It's a town that works. And if you're anything like me, traveling always comes with another question. What if I lived here? And that house I was eyeing before online has already been sold. Scrolling right move is a favorite pastime for a lot of dreamers, myself included. This 2-bedroom home was recently remodeled, new floors, fresh paint, even a wood burner. And it's already gone, no surprise. But would moving somewhere quiet like this really be an escape? Or would it just be another version of the same routine? And if you really wanted to escape, why stop at a house when you could stay in a castle? And if you ever wanted to live like royalty, well, you actually can. You can book an apartment here, like a hotel. Of course, that's one of the pricier options. But Stanhope has plenty of places to stay, from small inns to cozy guest houses. As nice as a castle stay sounds, the real adventure isn't in staying put. It's in seeing what's beyond the next hill. Stanhope is peaceful, but it's still connected. It has work, homes, public toilets, even castles. But if you want to really get away, then you keep driving. So I've just arrived to Staindrop. Now, to be honest, in the past, I didn't think much of Staindrop at all. It's just a pass-through town for me to go from home to shopping in a bigger town called Bishop Auckland. So I've just passed through this, always ignored it. But according to Yahoo, this is one of the most beautiful towns in County Durham. So let's check it out, see what I've missed. At first, I wasn't sure there was much here for visitors. But the more I looked, the more I noticed something else. So far, this village of Staindrop is definitely not letting me down. All the residential houses are really, really pretty. There's not much so far that I've seen in terms of things for the public. It's just lots of residential houses. But I like how people are really looking after their front porches. They put flowers outside. A small village is only as good as the people who take care of it. And it's clear, Staindrop isn't just lived in, it's looked after. The kind of place where people take pride in where they live. Even the quietest places need some connection to the outside world. And here's something I wasn't expecting to find. That's the cutest police station I've ever seen. Now, the door itself seems to be closed and I can't get in, but I've never seen this before. Direct telephone to Barnard Castle police office, so I can just... Even in the smallest places, the little details tell a story. There's a system, an order. This isn't just a sleepy village, it's an active community. And I kept seeing more signs that this wasn't just a place to live. It's a place where things happen. There's a lot of life here. This is Scarth Hall, and it runs all kinds of events, talks, coffee mornings, community meetups. It's not just a village, it's a place with things going on. A small village doesn't mean a quiet life. If you want to be part of something, there's plenty to be part of. I must say, so far I'm really impressed with Staindrop. It's a very, very beautiful town. Lots of things going on here. That Scarth Hall is impressive. And this one is not the first, not the second, but the third church that I've seen so far. But this is probably the most famous one. It's called St. Mary the Virgin Church of England Church. Let's check it out. Churches in places like this have seen centuries of people pass through. Weddings, funerals, prayers for good harvests. They are reminders that even the smallest places hold big histories. But one thing I always look for in a place like this, something practical. And that's when I found this. Just found a public toilet tucked away here, hidden away from the main street. Very pleased with this little village of Staindrop. Clearly it is meant for visitors, and they certainly do get them, but nowhere near to the annoying level of, say, a village in Cotswolds. I recommend it. Places like this give you a little bit of everything: history, beauty, and just enough connection to the outside world. But the thing about small villages, they make you wonder, do you really need anything bigger? I came here expecting just another pass-through village, but the more I walked, the more I realized this is enough for a lot of people. It's quiet, but not lifeless. Simple, but not empty. Sometimes escaping doesn't mean leaving, it just means living differently. But as peaceful as this was, my trip wasn't over yet. I love driving in County Durham, or in English countryside in general, because it's just a feast for your eyes, non-stop. Left and right you look, either you're driving past these really quaint old villages, or you're going through the rolling hills, and it doesn't really matter the weather, if it's sunny like it is right now, or if it's raining. I love the views in front of my eyes. And the other reason is that unlike driving in a city, which is a total nightmare due to traffic, I'm just driving non-stop, and there's nothing in front of me. Sometimes you get the odd tractor, but usually this is a driver's heaven. Some places feel like an escape, others feel like home, but every so often you find a place that's both. Barnard Castle isn't just a pretty town, it's a town that works, a town with a past, but also a future. And to prove it, let's start somewhere you wouldn't expect. I don't think every town of 5,000 people has its own leisure centre, where you can go to a swimming pool, gym, and even organise birthday parties. It's easy to think of small towns as places that people leave. But Barnard Castle isn't shrinking, it's thriving. There's life here, people investing in the town, making it a place worth staying in. And if you still think it's just another town, let me show you my favourite street. This has got to be my favourite street in Barnard Castle. It absolutely looks like a fairy tale. It really shows its age. You should see my other video where you can see the street in the snow. It just completely looks like a fairy tale. If you've ever walked through a place and felt like you were stepping back in time, you'll understand why Barnard Castle is special. The way the buildings lean slightly, the worn-down stonework, the shop signs that haven't changed in decades. It's history, but it's also charm. But this isn't just a postcard town. It's built on layers of history. Now, of course, this town is not like Edinburgh, but just down there is the river. And to get to the city centre, you have to walk up the street, and it is quite a workout. We're going very much uphill. By the time I get to the end, I'm like... The town itself is built on a hill, meaning that every turn gives you a new perspective, both literally and historically. And just when you think you've seen it all, you stumble on something unexpected. Like a house where one of the most controversial figures in British history once stopped for tea. Now, on the main street in Barnard Castle, the whole way along this way on the main street, most of the houses are Grade 2 listed. And this one, which is actually for sale, is a 16th century house. Now, as a recent homeowner, I can appreciate that to make houses last that long, you need to upkeep them all the time. Just imagine how much money, how much labor, and how much love it took for these houses to look as good as they do now over these last few centuries. Owning an old house takes love, money, and skilled labor. Imagine the love that's gone into keeping these buildings standing for centuries. It's not just history, it's care. People have looked after this place, and it shows. And if you really want to see something that stood the test of time, let's head to the castle. This is Barnard Castle, the reason the town exists. Built in the 12th century, it's seen battles, betrayals, and centuries of change. It might not be a functioning fortress anymore, but its presence still shapes the town. It's a reminder of where everything started. But for all the history and beauty...
Stop the video there for a second. I completely omitted visiting and talking about the Bowes Museum, which, for some visitors is like the primary reason to go to Barnard Castle. It's a very striking place. First time I drove past it, I kid you not, I slowed down nearly to a stop, safely of course, there was nobody behind me, because you just don't expect a building of that grandeur and that style to be in a small town of 5,000 people. It's about the size of the V&A Museum in London, but if you convert that proportionally due to the size of the town and the size of the building, it's like having 20 V&A museums in London. It is a gallery, and apart from being very beautiful, it has cool artwork inside it. It has lots of classes that pull people in from all sorts of ages. It has a very nice restaurant. One of the things that people like to visit there is a mechanical swan, and there's only 2 objects with this design in the whole world. One is in the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, and the other one is in the Bowes Museum in Barnard Castle. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't go to the Bowes Museum on this trip. I just wanted to put this in here because honestly, the Bowes Museum deserved its own video. But there we go.
Barnard Castle isn't just about the past. It's about the people still living here. There's something special about a town that still feels full of life. Markets, independent shops, bakeries, pubs. You don't need to leave Barnard Castle for much. It has everything you need. And if you're wondering what a perfect afternoon here looks like, well, let's end with that. If there's one thing I love about places like this, it's the simple things. A homemade bowl of soup in a quiet cafe after a long day of exploring? Perfect. Sometimes it's not about the biggest cities or the most famous landmarks. It's about the small places that have stood the test of time. The ones built for living, not just for visiting. And that's why I love traveling like this. Not just to see places, but to understand them. To walk the streets, learn the stories, and just appreciate the fact that places like this still exist. And with that, another weekend trip comes to an end. But there's always another place to see, another story to tell. Until next time.